Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Flip Clips. This one is about waste management in 2014. Here are our outcomes. In this clip we're going to look at the qualities of geological features that need to be considered when you select where you're going to put your dump, and we're going to evaluate the methods currently used for the disposal, treatment and also recycling of solid and or liquid waste. Exciting stuff, hold on. The big question here is, what do we do with our rubbish? Each household, and more households these days, produce a large amount of rubbish, and at the moment all that we do is dig a giant hole and put our rubbish in the hole. We call this landfill. And landfill can be defined as a hole that has been carefully designed to put waste material into. Now they mostly look like this. A giant pile of rubbish with a big hole in the ground. Here's a photo. That's actually taken from Port Macquarie. So it doesn't actually look that careful. So why on earth is this definition saying that landfill has to be carefully designed? Well, again, coming back to our main theme from Caring for the Country, guys and girls, we've screwed up the environment. Landfill has in the past been not careful enough, and that has caused a whole lot of environmental problems. At the moment, we're figuring these problems out and we're planning modern landfill and waste management strategies which don't have any of these problems. Now let me list these problems for you. First and foremost, they smell. When you're driving past, you can definitely tell it's landfill. And here are some more scientific sounding problems. The fermentation of rotting organic waste produces methane, which can cause fires or explosions. Methane is also a greenhouse gas. The rotting of any material in landfill can cause subsidence, which is a bad thing, causes the whole landfill to shift downwards and crack. So that's just a different problem. The normal problems to do with dumps is that they're home for vermin, such as disease-carrying rats. And a big problem down here is that when water drains through the landfill, it can leach dangerous contaminants from the landfill, and as the water runs off, it can poison waterways or aquifers. As it turns out, storing waste is more complicated than just burying it in a big hole. So here's what we do in modern waste management facilities. We choose a really appropriate site geologically. The rock that a landfill site is based on has to be stable and impervious. That means that it can't let any water through, and the word that we use for this contaminated water now is called leachate, which comes from the idea of the water leaching through the landfill and dissolving all of the chemical contaminants. And there should be no fractures or faults in the bedrock. So what I'm really getting at here is it needs to be in a geologically stable site. The rock needs to not let any of the water through, and it needs to be geologically sound so it won't break. There's no risk of earthquakes in the area, and there's no known fault system there. The idea of all of this is we want to choose the best site to keep all of the dirty contamination in and not let any of it escape. Here's a diagram of what a modern waste landfill might look like. They're mostly built on a sloped base. That allows all of the water to flow down to one end, and there are leachate collection pipes underneath the landfill that will collect any of this leachate. So looking at this diagram over here, this is the cross section. You've got the top there, and here's the bottom down there, and we've got this sloped base level which allows all of the water to flow down here, and then we've got these collection pipes which will actually drain up all of the leachate, stopping it from running into the water table. Now as you can see above that, we've got a plastic liner. Now this plastic liner is a very big polymer, very thick sheet. The idea there is we want to provide another layer to stop any of that water from getting down. And above that we have more pipes, and these pipes want to grab that leachate before it filters down into that bottom level. Above that we've just got all of our waste, and the waste fills up the entire landfill, and when we are finished we cap that off with the liner again. And I see in this example they've even compacted clay over the top, which is a good idea. Sometimes landfill sites only have the plastic, but in the best examples it'll have a clay layer and a compact polymer, and that'll help keep all of the wastes inside. Now over the top of that, planners will often let the landfill sit for a little while and when they figure out that it's stable and it hasn't subsided, they'll put a shallow layer of topsoil over the top, and then they try and get some vegetation growing on there, which will hopefully hold the underlayers together with their root system, and that stabilizes the entire landfill site. And for some reason I'm drawing giant flowers. There's some notes just summing up what I said, and I should also say that it's very important to maintain your monitoring of the site, which includes the level of the groundwater and any tectonic instability in the area. It might be a good idea to mention the problems that we have even with this high-tech solution, and the one big problem is that the cover breaks. So either the clay layer cracks, or the bottom plastic layer just perishes because of the action of chemicals, but that's one of the very big common problems. And I'll call that one breaking the seal. One of the other big problems is the actual landfill cover. The top part here where all the plants are can become eroded, and if that is eroded then it exposes the top, which leads back to breaking the seal. And the other big problem that I mentioned before is subsidence. If you have waste in here that is going to compact or rot or ferment and it collapses, then that can break the seal, break the walls, and everything will fall down and crack the outside. Subsidence. There we go. Very quickly mentioning in passing that we also have hazardous wastes. They might be from biomedical waste from the hospital or something. Mostly they need to be sterilised and then incinerated. And then we have the chemical liquids, and mostly they are not put down the drain. If anything is anything but neutral pH. They have to be treated, especially if they're oily or if they're dirty byproducts of chemical reactions. So acids, solvents, bases, photographic reagents, hospital stuff, even stuff we generate here at the school, needs to be reacted so that it forms a non-toxic, non-reactive product, and then that can be disposed of down the drain, or even made of, some of them you can make good byproducts if you know your chemistry. Surprisingly, Port Macquarie City Council does a really good job with their landfill facilities. In a normal town, 95% of all solid waste goes into landfill. But here in Port Macquarie, due to pre-treatment processes that the council's involved with, 66% of our waste is actually recycled. This is also backed up by a big public education push, which you probably will have heard of, where the three big things are reduce, reuse, and recycle. And the way that we do that in Port Macquarie is a very big public education push. Everyone is provided with the right size bins. You'll notice that your red bin at home for normal waste is much smaller than your recycling or your green bin. But even don't forget that the fact that we have a green bin and a recycling bin and then a recycling centre out at the landfill dump is a good thing. So they'll pick through, and a very big push on reducing the amount of material that goes into landfill. Here's a clip recorded by the Mayor himself running us through Port Macquarie, how we have different bins and how they're putting out different plans and stuff. And this one's actually new this year from 2014.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our first mayoral community update. We're giving this a shot on YouTube to see how we go, and just to provide a little bit of information for the community about some of the key things that are happening within council. Firstly, let's go to the waste project. Port Macquarie Hastings Council has signed a new waste services contract designed to reduce the amount of waste going to landfill and designed to save the ratepayer on dollars. As is the case with many other local councils, we are moving to a fortnightly collection. That's a bin service collection that is going to look at red bins and the size of the red bins, also the size of your recycling bin as well. So 27,000 mail outs have gone out to the community. They are very important mail out. I would suggest that everyone has a look at those and makes a decision about what red bin size is going to work for you best. Remember, what we're trying to do is reduce the amount of landfill that we have, so it's very important that we choose the right size of the bin, because that is going to stay with you for quite some time. If anyone has any concerns or questions about things that may not be in the brochure that you've received, I would encourage you to get in touch with council. either go to our website or get on the phone and contact council, and we'll do our best to get the information to you as quickly as we can.
A lot of these questions that we could be asked, guys, are focused around the idea of assessing or evaluating the way that it's currently done at the moment. And I'd have to say, looking into Port Macquarie, it's quite a positive assessment. The way that they put their money into this public education program, doing things like that video, making sure that the bins are all the right sizes, they're saving money, but they're also reducing landfill and they're increasing awareness around recycling. I'm reading from a website, 2010 apparently, Port Macquarie Hastings Council pay a contractor $65 a tonne of rubbish that will stabilise and compact it. It means it takes up less space, but also it gives off little methane gas and does not become wind-blown litter. That's really pretty unusual for such a small council, and it got really good raps across the country at the time. I imagine that that's still going on 4 years later. Finally, ladies and gents, can you finish off with these questions for me? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, and 3 are pretty easy. Question 4 here, describe the lengths Port Macquarie City Council are going to reduce the volume of waste going into landfill, including treatment and recycling measures. That question will require you to make use of the websites. Go to the council websites and see what they say about their treatment. And also this Sydney Morning Herald report, that was what I was reading from then, 2010, about how Port Macquarie has been treating their landfill. Finally, question 5 here is your evaluate question. Evaluate the methods currently used for disposal, blah, blah, blah. So we're talking about make a judgment, do a discussion, do your pros and cons, what criteria must it be to be successful, and then judge it again. Good job, everyone. See you soon.